Venus, a planet that, from a distance, looks peaceful, elegant, and almost divine. Draped in soft clouds, glowing like a pearl in the morning or evening sky, it's easy to see why it bears the name of the Roman goddess of love and beauty. But beneath that gentle veil lies one of the most violent and unforgiving worlds in our solar system, a true hell disguised as heaven. The moment you pierce that cloud layer, beauty turns to brutality. You're met with scorching temperatures, volcanic landscapes, and an atmosphere so thick it would crush you instantly. The air is laced with acid, and the pressure is as if you were standing a kilometer beneath Earth's oceans. Venus may look like paradise, but it's one of the deadliest places we know. Yet despite its hostility, Venus holds mysteries that fascinate astronomers even today. So, what do we really know about this shimmering, deadly world? Let's dive deep into the story of Venus, Earth's twin, and its complete opposite. Venus is the second planet from the Sun and Earth's closest planetary neighbor. It orbits the Sun at a distance of about 108 million kilometers, or 0.72 astronomical units. Its orbit is almost perfectly circular, the most circular of any planet, which means Venus keeps a very steady distance from the Sun. At its closest approach, Venus comes within just 41 million kilometers of Earth, closer than any other planet ever gets. But strangely, that's not when it shines the brightest. When Venus is nearest to us, its dark side faces Earth, hiding most of the sunlight. Its most brilliant phase happens when it's a slim crescent, glowing so brightly that it often becomes the second brightest object in our sky after the Moon. Because of that brightness, many people over the years have mistaken Venus for a UFO. Even former US President Jimmy Carter once reported seeing a mysterious flying object, which later analysis suggested was, in fact, Venus itself. Rare transits and cosmic timing. Since Venus orbits between the Earth and the Sun, you might wonder, does it ever pass directly in front of the Sun, like an eclipse? The answer is yes, but it's extremely rare. These events, called Venus transits, happen in pairs 8 years apart, and those pairs only occur roughly once every century. The last one took place in 2012, and the next won't occur until the year 2117. The rarity comes from the fact that Venus's orbit is slightly tilted compared to Earth's, so only occasionally do the two align perfectly. A planet that spins backwards. Venus moves around the Sun in the same direction as the other planets, counterclockwise. But strangely, it spins the opposite way on its axis. It rotates backwards, or what scientists call retrograde rotation. Even more astonishing, it rotates extremely slowly. One rotation takes 243 Earth days, longer than it takes for Venus to complete a full orbit around the Sun, which is 224 days. That means a single day on Venus, from one sunrise to the next, lasts about 117 Earth days. To put that in perspective, if you stood on Venus, you'd only experience 2 sunrises per Venusian year. And at its equator, the planet turns at just 6.5 kilometers per hour, slower than a walking human. This sluggish rotation makes Venus the second most perfectly spherical object in the solar system, after the Sun itself. Scientists still aren't sure why Venus spins backwards. Some believe it was struck by a massive object billions of years ago. Others think it might have been slowed and flipped by the Sun's tidal forces over time. Earth's twin, but not its match. Venus and Earth are often called sisters. They're nearly the same size. Venus has a diameter of 12,100 kilometers, compared to Earth's 12,740. Their densities and surface gravities are almost identical, too. But that's where the similarities end. Venus's atmosphere is 93 times denser than Earth's and composed mostly of carbon dioxide with clouds of sulfuric acid. Standing on Venus would feel like being crushed under the weight of the ocean and roasted at the same time. The surface pressure is 92 times what we feel on Earth, and the temperature averages 462 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. That makes Venus even hotter than Mercury, even though Mercury is closer to the Sun. The reason is simple. Venus's dense atmosphere traps heat in a runaway greenhouse effect, locking in energy and never letting it escape. Day or night, equator or pole, the temperature stays almost the same. Venus is a planet that never cools down. Storms in a toxic sky. At the surface, the winds are slow, only a few kilometers per hour. But because the air is so dense, even that slow movement can push rocks and dust across the ground. Higher up, though, the story changes dramatically. At the top of Venus's cloud layer, hurricane-like winds race at 300 kilometers per hour, circling the planet in just 4 or 5 Earth days. These clouds are made of sulfuric acid droplets, incredibly reflective, letting through only about 10% of sunlight. They completely hide the surface from view, making it impossible to see the ground with regular cameras. But they also create lightning, massive storms, and a gigantic spinning vortex at the planet's south pole, similar to Saturn's polar storm. The strange thing? About 50 kilometers above the surface, the pressure and temperature are almost Earth-like. If a human could somehow float there, inside a sealed airship, the environment would feel surprisingly comfortable, apart from the toxic air. First steps, the Venera missions. Despite Venus's extreme conditions, we've actually landed probes there, thanks to the Soviet Union's Venera program between the 1960s and 1980s. Venera 7 became the first spacecraft ever to land on another planet and send data back, confirming a surface temperature of around 475 degrees Celsius. Later missions, such as Venera 9, 10, 13, and 14, sent back the first photographs of the Venusian surface, haunting, orange-tinted images of cracked rocks and endless plains. These missions revealed that the clouds end high above the surface, leaving the lower atmosphere surprisingly clear, though filled with toxic gases. Later orbiters, using radar mapping, penetrated the cloud cover and showed a world covered in volcanoes and vast lava plains. In fact, Venus has over 160 giant volcanoes more than 100 kilometers across, and hundreds of thousands of smaller ones. Unlike Earth, Venus has no plate tectonics to release internal heat, so it may go through catastrophic resurfacing events instead, when the crust melts from below and floods the planet in molten rock. Scientists believe the last such global event occurred between 300 and 600 million years ago. A planet without a shield. Despite being Earth-like in size, Venus has no magnetic field of its own. That puzzled scientists, because with a similar metallic core, it should have one. One theory suggests that Earth's magnetic field was jump-started by a massive collision long ago, the same event that formed our moon. Venus, however, never experienced such an impact, and without that stirring of its molten core, it may have never developed a protective magnetic dynamo. Without this magnetic shield, the planet's upper atmosphere is constantly bombarded by solar wind, which strips away lighter molecules and creates a long comet-like tail of gas trailing behind Venus. Under rare conditions, that invisible tail can even extend far enough to brush Earth's orbit. The beauty and the warning. Venus is both breathtaking and terrifying, a mirror of Earth showing us what happens when the greenhouse effect runs wild. Beneath the beauty of its glowing clouds lies a warning: what happens when a planet's atmosphere turns against it? We may never walk on its surface, but through telescopes and robotic explorers, we continue to learn from this haunting world. Because the story of Venus is not just about a distant planet, it's a reflection of what could one day happen to our own.